This is Mr. Burley, York Catholic District School Board. In this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to do something along the lines like this. This is like a neon looking sign or glow in the dark kind of deal, or glow stick effect, lightsaber. You could use this in a bunch of different things and ways. It's a nice looking effect. Nowadays, it's kind of got the LED effect to it. So we're going to jump right in. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go File, New, and I'm going to use the size of the Instagram here. It gives me a nice 1000 by 1000, and I'm going to create it. Now, this works best if we're doing one letter, possibly two, and the letters are big. Gives us this effect. Now, you can write a saying or whatever the case may be, or like a sign, but you need to make sure the letters are spread far apart so that they can give the glow. If you get the letters too close together, they glow onto one another and you don't get the same real cool effect. So bear that in mind when you're selecting your font. So I found the font that I used here for this particular thing that worked really nice was Carla. So we'll click on the font tool here, text tool, and we're going to do Carla. You can explore on your own different options. So now what I want to do is I'm going to set the size of it to 850, nice and big, and I'm going to go like this. I'm just going to put an R, and I'm going to bring the R into the right spot. Now you can size and position it as you like later on. I would recommend just follow the video the way I'm doing it right now, and that gives you the idea of how it works. Okay, so click OK, and there I've got it in the center. Now I'm going to go back into here. I'm going to do my first stroke. So you notice I've clicked on the layer here. I'm going to click on, first thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to see where it says fill 100%. I'm going to drop that back to 0, and you're not going to be able to see anything. So I'll drop it back to 0 in a second once I change the color, but we are going to drop that to 0 so that it kills the inside so you can see better. So we're going to put a stroke. We're going to double click on this one, and we're going to do stroke number 1. Stroke number 1, I'm going to go white here. I'm going to go to the size is going to be, I just wanted to see what my sizes were. That worked well for me. 6, we'll go with 6 for that thing. The opacity, I'm going to leave it at 100%, and the color white, and the blend mode we'll leave normal for now. And we're going to click OK. And now you can't see the stroke because it's on the outside. So what we do is come to the background, double click the background, and we'll set the black background color to double click here, black. Okay, and now we can see it, the white stroke. And now is a good time to go back and remove that opacity on the inside of the, not of the background, sorry, of the letter. So I'm removing the opacity of this one, not this one. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to bring the background. Now, a dark background works the best. So black would look cool. I'm going to use some dark stones. You can search up Google Images. You can use brickwork, looks really cool. Darker the better because then it gives that effect to it. But you can use any background that you choose. For my purposes here, I'm going to use this wall here. And it kind of looks like Kingston. I don't know if you've ever been to Kingston. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to zoom out for a second, hold my shift key down. I'm going to bring this up so it fills in there, holding the shift key down so it doesn't change the aspect ratio. Now I can't see, so I'm going to bring this down here so my R is above it, like so. And while we're still working on this layer here, I'm going to double click it and I'm going to say stone. It's a good idea here to do a nice job labeling things. It just helps it organize yourself better later on. So now what I want to do is I want to click on this, double click this one here, and we're going to put in a gradient overlay on. You notice we're doing the gradient overlay on the stonework here, not on this layer. So gradient overlay, double click this one, so it brings this up. And first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to drop this down and switch it to, no, sorry, not that. And drop this one down here, linear. What was I doing? Gradient overlay. I'm on the stonework. Let's change them to multiply here. Multiply that. I'm going to leave the opacity at 100% for the time being. We're going to select radial here, and radial means that this right now it's a straight line. There's like a line shining up, but if you switch it to radial, you can see it becomes a round effect right there. Now I want to reverse it right now. This is dark and the outside's light. If I click the reverse button, it creates the opposite effect, like this, 90. We're going to leave this at 100%, and we're going to leave those two at 0. Now, you can play with these just quickly to see what happens, but as I bring this down, and as I bring this back up, so you can kind of see the effects that take place on that. I'm going to leave it right there at 100 to give me that kind of effect. But the X and Y too, you can bring this light up and down, left and right. In this situation, that's your X-axis, of course. Bring it to 0, and then your Y-axis can go up and down. So it's like aiming a flashlight at the wall. Okay, I'm gonna bring it back down to make sure it's at 0, like so. So 0, 0 means it's heading straight on into that. Okay, so now I'm going to go back into the text layer here, and I'm going to double click the text layer, and I'm going to add a second stroke. So the first stroke is right on the line. The second stroke I'm going to add here, whoops, here. The second stroke, double click the second stroke, and stroke number 2, I'm going to make it to 13. We're going to change that in a second, but I'm just going to show you why. Outside, this one here we're going to have on the outside. So this stroke is on the outside of here and the outside of there. The color we're going to set to a color, I'm going to use green. Green looks cool, gives me that nice effect, but you can use red, blue, whatever you want that your glow to look like. Then you click OK. I'm going to leave the opacity here at 100% for the time being, but you can see what happens if the opacity takes it out and brings it back in. I'm going to leave 100%. Now I'm going to add another stroke again, and this time this stroke is going to be on the inside. So the other one, the first one was on the line, second one is outside. This one here is going to be on the inside here, like so. I'm going to set this stroke to 7. You know, in reality, it could be exactly the same size, but I like 7. I played with 7 and it looked good. I'm going to leave the opacity 100%. I'm going to leave this at normal, blending mode, and the color, I'm going to switch it to green, which it already is. So now I've got that. It's starting to come. It's starting to look like that, what we're looking for that. Now we're going to jump right down to the bottom to the drop shadow. We're going to double click the drop shadow, and we're going to set the color to the drop shadow here. I'm going to use that color. And then the opacity, I'm going to set it to 99, look nice for me. We'll play with it in a second. Down here, the distance, we got 0. The spread, I'm going to put it to 8. Whoops. And then the size, I set it to 93. You can see the changes that's taking place here. The noise, I'm going to leave it at 0. And now I'm going to come back just for a nanosecond and show you the different things. So this is at 99, but you can see what happens as I bring this up and down. You can see the changes. As I get higher, you can start to see the greens in through here. The distance, you can make it come way out, like so. Right here, the distance is leaving it straight on the line. The spread is how far it blurs it out or brings the greens out from. You see how the hues coming out, the greens coming out. So I'm going to leave that one back down there to, I had it at 8, right? Yeah, I think 8 or 9 looks nice. Even 10's fine. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put the outer glow. You can start to see it's starting to look like the thing, but it's not quite right just yet. So we're going to go to the outer glow. We're going to click the outer glow here. Double click the outer glow and start at the very top of this one. I'm going to leave it to set that to normal. I'm going to set the opacity is already set to 75 and it looks nice. I'm going to change the gradient color to green so it looks, so you can start to see the greens come out there. Softer, that can stay the way it is. The opacity 75, yes. The spread, we're going to take it up. I'm going to put 15. Looks nice. Now, if you watch, I'm going to grab this and drag it up. You can see what takes place on the left. It's a little more subtle, but you can still see stuff happening on the left-hand side. So we're going to take it to 15. Size, I'm going to make it larger, 61. Now, bringing that out, you can really see the glow. I'm going to bring that out. You can see if I bring that way out, it just glows it like crazy. But you kind of play around with it, and you can. What you can do, and what I was doing is I was looking at a image, Google Images for neon to see what a neon sign looked like to try to replicate that neon sign look. This down here, the range will leave it at 50, and the jitter I'm leaving it that at 0. So it's starting to come along. It's starting to look more like what we're after. Now I want to go for the inner glow, which is going to give the inside. Right now, all the glow is on the outside. So we're going to go inner glow here. We're going to double click the inner glow. We're going to set that to normal. The opacity, I'm going to bring the opacity up. You can to around 91, I think is 91. Opacity, I'm going to leave the noise at 0. I'm going to set the spread to 5. Now, if you grab this right here, and you can start to see what the spread does, if you look on the left-hand side, it gives you a nice representation of what's happening. Whoops. Spread, what did I do here? Normal, yes. Opacity's right. The color, yes. I got out of it. The spread was 5. Size was 61, I think, wasn't it? 61. Okay, or no, I think it was set. I want to put the size 59. Range. Okay, so now you can see it's starting to look like that 3D. You can play with these effects over here. If you want to take a little less inner glow or drop the opacity down a bit to make it, you can see there, if I bring it up too far, it fills right in. Now the light would be brighter, it would be more concentrated in this area. So certainly you would have a bit of brighter on the inside than you would on the outside. So something along that line, you would see all those bricks for sure. The spread, you can play with the spread and see what happens there, but it brings it in further in. You don't want too much, but you want this to be blurred out across the top and here to make it look like it's the actual neon light sign. Now, right now I've got the white line going around the center. Now you can click that off to make it look more like a actual neon sign, or you can, I personally like the look of it with it on. I think it even brings it a little brighter. You can play with that stroke. You can add some more strokes in there, but this is basically the skill set. So now what you do is you go onto the Google Images, find yourself a neon sign, get a look at it. Sometimes there's multiple colors in neon signs, which looks really cool, and create yourself a nice neon sign. And it can be your initials. The simpler the neon lettering is, the nicer effect you'll have. If you get a bunch of letters close together, they kind of overrun each other and you don't get that same effect. So you kind of want to make it not the project simple, just the graphic itself simple. And then you can make the actual colors and the effect much more elaborate.